boys and girls. Welcome to the Cool Kids Lunch Table Podcast with PJ and Mike. Now find yourself a seat at their table.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Cool Kids Lunch Table Podcast with PJ and Mike. I'm PJ.
And I'm Mike.
By the time you folks at home listen to this episode, we will be in 2025. We're recording this just days before the New Year, so we hope you all had a Merry Christmas, a Happy Hanukkah, a Happy Kwanzaa, a very Happy New Year, and anything else I may have missed when it comes to holidays. But because this is the end of the year wrap up for us, we thought we'd spend some time today going through some of the wild things that have happened in the year of 2024.
So, folks, Happy New Year. And today we're doing a wrap up. So this is not like chronological order. So we're not going to go like January of last year and then February. We're just going to go feel our way through. PJ and I wrote down some things that happened this past year in 2024. We're going to discuss the highs and lows. So that's whether it's politics, some pop culture, sports, movies, music, life, the whole shebang. So, PJ, I think probably the biggest thing in our country that happened was this presidential election. And the part I want to talk about first, PJ, though, and look, folks, PJ and I are we're going to be as objective as possible, okay? But I think all of us, listeners and us, could agree that the Joe Biden and Trump debate, that obviously was like the thing that started, I think we already knew the whole election was going to be a circus, but that started it all because you had...
What a circus.
Right, because you have Joe Biden and, what's the right word? Clearly, age is impacting him, because him and Trump are really relatively the same age. Trump's 78. He's not,
he's no spring chicken.
Exactly, but obviously his maybe his reaction time is a little bit quicker, clearly.
Yeah, I don't want to say his mental fortitude is any better. I don't know if I want to say that so much, but
right.
he can speak, so
right.
But
the amazing thing about that is because maybe like it was less than a week, and that happened. I'm trying to think when that debate was. Maybe it was like July or June, somewhere around about it.
I think it was right after the summer or right towards the end of it.
Yeah, it was like
August maybe.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, like maybe a week later, they announce I guess he resigns. I guess from going for a second term, and then they give it to Kamala Harris, which is another. It's just because you think about it. I'm just kind of going off the cuff here. Like you remember, like back in the day in 2008, where you had it was oh my God, what's his name?
2008. Who we have in 2008?
We have Obama versus
John
McCain.
John McCain.
John McCain. Right. And then you had what's her name? Sarah Palin, and that was a huge deal. I'm really curious if let's say she ran today. I'm curious how that, because back in the day when that happened, it was like, oh, you're going to have a woman, and now it's like, whoop. It's kind of crazy how they kind of switch roles, so it's really the Republicans who actually started the first one would have, which is actually somewhat progressive. You always think of conservatives as being not as progressive, but if you think about it, it was actually kind of reverse roles in a way. But yeah, then you get Kamala, and then
she just, I mean, look, there were zero good choices.
Yes,
this time around, but I could not listen to her. I felt like all she did was like cackle and laugh, like some sort of like maniac. And I can't listen to this for the next 4 years. But then on the other side, it's an actual maniac, and you're like, well, I can't listen to that for the next 4 years. And then there was like no third party choice.
Yeah,
you were stuck in this
No, it's so crazy, man. I agree. It's just, I'm sure the folks that I'm sure people are getting divided or heated up as we're saying. We're just completely objectively, like PJ says, like these are our best candidates, because you're having I think I don't know if she just automatically got it because she's still right now maybe not right. Anyway, she was the vice president. I'm surprised I didn't go for a different candidate, and I'm really surprised because you think about when you go for presidents, because Trump is the second president from what I know who's got a second term after he lost his second, right? So, which is pretty amazing, which is pretty interesting, but. The point I'm making is because now he's considered like a lame duck. You know what I mean? So he's only here for 4 years. That's it.
Right.
Usually, what presidents is when you win the first term,
it's
your first 2 years.
You need the full 8 years in a row to actually make a difference.
Yes, and usually then the first which is crazy. In your first term, the last 2 years of your first term, you actually start getting ready to.
The campaign.
Yes. So which is crazy. So it's remarkable how this kind of played out. You know,
The
truly.
and the whoever won the election was never going to be a. The country was always going to lose. Whoever
Right.
won, the country was going to lose. But just all of the nonsense surrounding it,
Right.
where eating dogs
Right.
was. I mean,
Yes.
all the
Yeah.
memes that came out of him saying
Yes.
they're eating
Yeah.
the dogs.
Yeah, the coconut
The
tree with her, and you fell out of I mean, like,
yeah,
seem like just comedy gold, man. You know?
Saturday Night Live. I don't watch Saturday Night Live anymore.
No, no way,
But
man.
if this was like the golden era of Saturday Night Live a few years, they
Yeah.
would have had a field day
Oh yeah.
with
Hmm.
all the nonsense that happened from that. Like, I don't understand. I,
But
I don't
even
understand. There's a billion people in this country at least, right? I mean, I don't have the numbers in front of me. I'm going to estimate at least 1 billion people. And I just feel like every time there's an election, we find the worst of the worst out of a billion people.
which brings me to my next point is you had like it's crazy because I feel like I'll do a bit of a time machine. They said one of the reasons why Obama won back in 2008 because like he was really started to really embrace social media. That was like a
Mhm.
big thing. But it's crazy how Trump was on Joe Rogan. You know what I
Yep.
mean? That I'm not saying that turned the tide, but that was a huge thing. That was huge, no
Yeah.
doubt. 3 hours, and Kamala, I think she was offered it, but she only wanted to do it an hour, and she wanted to do it on her location, that whole thing. But it's just crazy the power of social media. But back to your point, BJ, I really recommend for folks at home if you want to, because BJ's talking about different nominees, is you listen to the podcast. You can watch it on YouTube. It's excellent. The comedian Theo Vaughn, he's
Mhm.
really funny, and he has a great episode where he has Bernie Sanders. Now, some of our listeners may not like Bernie Sanders. Regardless, I really recommend you listen to it because Bernie, I gotta say, I mean, I like him, but I gotta say, he really gives you like almost like a behind the scenes of politics work because he's very can't. He's like very like straight up. He's like, oh yeah, he's like, yeah, I was gaining momentum. They didn't want me. I was too I was too radical, which is
Mhm.
crazy. Now you almost think he's somewhat tame compared to the other candidates. Um, that's a great episode. I really, really recommend for people to. And he's like not like, uh, shouting and protesting and blah blah blah. Because he even says, when you do these, um, debates. He's like, they give you a minute because you have no time. You have to make these soundbite clips, and
Yep.
he's like, they don't even want you to give it because to really talk about policy, you don't have the time to do it. It's like he even says it's like it's almost like a game show. That you see a clock running, you have 2 minutes, you know, and you want to defend yourself, not lose face, kind of thing. He's like, so you didn't even get a chance to talk about the policy that you really want to, institute. So
Just speaking about him, Bernie Sanders, and then if you think back throughout the years, there
mhm,
have been third-party candidates that they were never going to win because despite the fact that we have more than two parties in this country, it's a two-party system.
yeah,
But there were people that you knew, right? Like everyone knew who Bernie Sanders was.
right,
Most people knew who Ron Paul was when he was
yep,
running.
yep,
You had for years, I think Ross Perot tried 37
yeah, yeah.
elections in a row, but you knew who they were. You knew who they were, but
Ralph Nader,
now,
right? He was
yeah,
like the Green Party. Yeah,
Ralph Nader, yeah, he was another one. Yeah.
all these dudes. Yeah. Hmm.
Now that seems to be like gone. I don't know what just happened. There's a lot of noise happening in my workstation here. Um, Now it's just the two main
Yes.
people, and the problem with having just the two main people is if they're not good, which seems to keep happening, there's nobody playing spoiler. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yep.
And that's what those third party candidates used to be. It was a spoiler. Like, all right, these two people are terrible. This guy saying one or two things that are good, I can vote for that person. And while it wouldn't necessarily impact the results of that particular election, I do believe it would impact policies being made and things like that because they could use that as a gauge. Well, they're voting for this particular third party candidate over us. Maybe we need to look into what they're saying and doing, and maybe we need to incorporate some of that into our platform. That goes away when you don't have a viable third party candidate, and now you're stuck with these two radical left or radical right people
I agree.
making decisions that really benefit nobody, and
Hmm.
and that's how you get the
Yeah.
America we currently live in, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely agree. Where even with our current parties, there's no one who just kind of, and like I said, I'm not trying to romanticize the past, but if you really think about like Obama, even George Bush, like they were actually pretty somewhat middle of the road, maybe middle
Uh,
left, middle right, but they
Right.
weren't so like whoop, like so extreme. So it's
Yeah.
amazing how, like I said, if someone historically years from now we look back on this, it's going to be crazy. But PJ, um, I want to ask you a question. It's called "Where are they now?" I'm going to give you that
Okay.
person's name. I want you to say, "Where do you think they are now?"
Okay.
Mike Pence. Where is he? what?
What do I think Mike Pence is right now?
Where did that guy
I
go?
th-
Where did
I
he
think
go?
he is a greeter at Walmart. That's what I think he is.
He just vanished. That guy. You had January 6th, 4 years ago,
He's in
and
a
then
bunker.
right, he got erased. It's like Back to the Future. He got erased from existence.
Yeah,
I don't know if he's
he's
still
gone.
back to being a governor or what. I really don't. I didn't Google him.
I
I
don't know
just
where
wrote
he
that,
is.
but he really vanished. That guy. I mean,
Trump
talk
might have
about
had him killed for all we know. I mean, that guy. Yeah,
right.
the
Talk
guy
about just like
vanished.
political, like I don't want to say like political assassination. Not literally, but I mean it's like
Yeah,
completely. Like what do they say in Hollywood? Hey, he'll never work in this town again. I mean, he
he's
just
not.
he vanished. Where did he go?
I mean, he probably wants nothing to do with politics at this point.
Yeah. Crazy. But PJ, speaking of where are they now? I think one of my favorite things, and I'm not trivializing like DWIs or drinking and driving, but I always got a kick out of the whole meme with Justin Timberlake.
Oh yeah.
Arrested for out here in Long
Uh,
Island with us in the Hamptons, and he got pulled over, and and then he goes, "Oh man, this is gonna ruin the tour." And the officer says, "What tour?" He goes, "The world tour." And dude, the amount of memes, bro. Like I said, I'm not trivializing DWIs or anything like that, but
he's
that whole thing, I mean, that was just it took a life of its own. It's amazing.
Here's the thing. No one gives a single shit about Justin Timberlake in 2024. He's so irrelevant that the cop didn't even know who he was.
I know. Was that crazy? At one point, I mean, it's amazing how
He was
time.
at one point the biggest star in the world.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, for lack of a better term, and I don't think he has the talent, but he was almost like a Michael Jackson for a new generation.
Yes.
And you know, and now Mr. Irrelevant, no one, he got arrested for DUI. No one knew who he was. Like it's
Yeah. Hmm.
and you think about it, he used to pop up on like Jimmy Fallon's shit all the time because they were friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jimmy Fallon got nowhere to be found when it comes to Justin Timberlake because he doesn't want to ruin his image
Yeah.
either at this point. We may never hear from him again in any major capacity. 2024 could be the last time that Justin
Right.
Timberlake what was in the news.
Yeah. I mean, I think his last hit song was, I think, for the movie Trolls.
Yeah,
Like, dun, 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 dun. I can't think of the
yeah,
name. I
yeah. I
did a
know that
terrible
song you're
job.
talking about.
But one of the things I want to talk about, PG, in this past year, and it pertains somewhat to Justin Timberlake, is how like AI has gotten it's getting to the point where they call it the uncanny valley, where you know
Yeah,
something's off. But I remember with his mugshot, shortly after they made him, someone made a AI
hmm
meme, and it was him. All of a sudden, he takes a swig from like a bottle of beer, and I just couldn't. I remember I saw it. Obviously, I knew you could tell it was fake and everything, but I
right.
just couldn't. I was like, wow, another 10 years from now, that's going to be very, convincing. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? It's
you sent
crazy.
me a video the other day, and I was like, wow, this looks too real. It
Yeah.
really. Here's the problem with AI. There's a lot of problems with AI.
Oh yeah.
The problem is this is how we get to the Terminator, and like it just starts with this. It just starts. You can't trust anything you see in the
It's
world.
yeah.
For all I know, you're AI right now.
Right. Yeah. No, but it's really it's something I can honestly say this past year AI really it really like it leveled up,
Yeah.
to a different degree. Where I'm just like, whoa, like, because now I've seen like when we edit our videos, and I use Adobe, but like now you get a new version where it says, oh, you can
Or
add
edit with a.
AI.
Yeah.
Right. So let's say you need like a landscape shot, oh man, I wish I had 5 more seconds of like us driving over the sunrise at the beach.
They could just
It
do
can,
it.
it can do it. I mean,
Yeah.
that's unbelievable. You know, um,
I mean, but it's everything because you have that, but you also have things like Chat GPT and all this other
yes,
stuff, which is like, it's a different type of AI. It's not creating necessarily imagery, but it's creating everything. It creates news.
Yeah.
You don't know if what you're reading is. I mean, I'm telling you, this is how we get to Terminator. The machines
Right.
will take over. If it the Chat GPT
Yeah.
will eventually take over the world because it's going to get its own like conscience. I don't know. I don't like any
Yeah.
of this AI stuff. It shut
Yeah.
down Hollywood. The AI stuff. I don't remember. Was
Yes.
that this year or last year? I don't
I think it
remember.
was last year, but still,
But
you could see it impacting.
yeah,
It's just like I said, it's I saw maybe like months ago in 2024, Apple's, coming out with their own like AI thing,
mhm.
and they had like an advertisement, and it was like it could when you write an email, it says like you can choose an option like do you want to make it more friendlier. So I can write an
Yeah,
email and then or make it more tighten it up. This isn't
yep.
spell check, folks. I'm talking about like it
It
will
rewrites
rewrite
the
it
thing for you.
to make
Yep.
it sound more friendly. So maybe at the moment you write this thing and you're really, maybe you're mad at your boss and you're like, hold on, let me press,
Let me make
kindlier,
this little. Yeah.
right? Yeah,
Let me push the
per my
friendly
last
button.
email. Yeah, kind of thing. But it rewrites it. I mean, that's really taking language, like we said, PJ. Like it's funny how science fiction can really, you know, predict the future, and it's becoming real, man. And AI
It
is no joke.
it's
It really is.
also it's dumbing down humans.
Oh yeah.
Nobody
Hmm.
has to think anymore.
Hmm.
I got a thing. I saw a thing the other day. It was an ad for AI, and it was like still trying to write that book. Well, I finished mine in a day, and I forget the name of the company. But basically, you just put your idea into this app or this program of what you want your book to be, and then it writes the book for you.
Mm.
Like, can you imagine? Like you're reading a novel, no one's actually writing it.
I I'm speechless, man. It's it's really crazy because like even if like those who have Facebook or Messenger, there's like a button now that says like press like Facebook AI or something like
Yep,
that, or Meta. That's what it's called, Meta. That's what they
Meta
call it
AI.
as.
Yeah,
And it like it kind of like tells you like oh, you have a question about like this. It could be a meme. It even says it. It's like oh this meme.
yeah.
It tells you what the meme's about. Like
It even
obviously
like
it's somewhat of
summarizes
like
all
a
the comments on these posts, so you don't
yes
have to read them.
yes yeah. That's
Crazy.
unbelievable.
I don't like it. I don't like the robots taking over.
Yeah, especially with writing's huge. I think, like you said, PJ, like it's one of the greatest tools we ever have as human beings is actually the ability to read and write. Someone because that's
Yeah.
true power. People like let's choose it. No, knowledge is power. Like writing can really determine huge thing. That's documents. Writing
Well,
is huge,
yeah.
man.
Well, if you think about the world, right? The entire world, everything that happens comes from someone writing a story.
Hmm.
Essentially, if you think about organized religion, someone wrote a story. Now, maybe you believe that that
Right.
story is based on true things that happen. Maybe you don't think it's that. Whatever you believe, right? But it's based on this writing and this retelling of stories that have happened, and then from that, and whether that's the regular whatever Catholic Bible or a Torah or whatever, right? There are similarities in all of these things, but that's where government comes from because it takes from that.
Yeah.
That's why, like when you look at a dollar bill, it's one nation under God or whatever it says, right?
Hmm.
And if you take away the writing from the humans that can think, and it's
Mm.
just a machine doing the writing, and it's just an AI that doesn't understand or have the capability of understanding human emotion and things like that, and have human intelligence, when things start being based on this writing, it's there's nothing behind it. It makes for a very scary world. It makes for some
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
dystopian futures and stuff that we've
Yeah.
seen in movies for years. Like that's what we're trending towards. And I think I just don't like it. I just don't
Yeah.
like it.
Because you make a great point, PJ. Because like you said, in terms of like let's say just policies, like let's say healthcare policy. You gotta instead of having a bunch of people to say, "Oh, Mike, I don't want lawyers." The whole thing with Luigi. I guess we can talk about
Right.
that. But
Yeah.
seriously, like, what are you gonna do? Put into a computer? All right, write the next healthcare policy for our country. Like, you
Right.
really want a machine to determine that? It's
Yeah.
that can make a difference. You want to make it, or how about you want to make it? Have the computer make a law for gun control or whatever it is, anything, reproductive
Yeah.
rights, the whole shebang. I mean, it
Yeah.
could really,
It
you
could
really want a computer writing all that stuff. It's getting to that
and
point.
that's what we're getting. That's what I'm saying. It's not
It's
that's how you get
crazy.
to these futures where there's like no humanity left. It's not good. It's not good. But since we mentioned our boy Luigi, That dude, I don't know all the backstory. I could not be bothered to read into all of his
Right.
backstory. My basic knowledge of what happened here was this dude had some sort of medical condition, or
Yeah.
someone he knew had some sort of medical condition, was not approved by this United Healthcare thing.
Hmm.
And so Luigi had a mission, went out on his own to right the wrongs.
Right.
And I guess he had to have stalked this guy
Yes.
to know where he
Mhm.
was going to be, find his way into New York City, wait for this guy to come out of whatever building he was in. There's a bajillion buildings in New York City.
Yes.
So to
Hmm.
know which one he was going to be walking out of at what time is incredible. And then he murders the guy. And for years, in my last 39 years anyway, have been told that murdering people is a bad thing, right?
Thou
That's
shalt
what
not kill.
that's what right? Yeah. Except for this guy has been turned into a hero.
I know. It's crazy, man. And like,
Everyone is like, well, I understand why he did it. He was right to do it. You don't kill people.
right, and it's scary because like, look, I think you and I clearly have a sense of humor. Like, we get this, but you said like, I try to look. Who am I? I just try to say, look, you can do both, right? I can understand, like, we can make sense why he emotionally did. But I don't condone that behavior, right? And I do agree. Yeah, yeah, no shit. Yeah, we need to, change our healthcare system. I mean, hello.
Yeah.
This is something we've been talking about for decades, probably at least since 2000, the past
Yeah.
25 years we've been saying. So he's not breaking ground. He didn't expose the healthcare industry. We already knew this.
Right.
But I mean, I want to tell people, like, you really think, I'm not trivializing this man's life, but you think this one murder is going to change policy? Wow, because
No.
you think the other ones are taking their photos down. I mean, that doesn't solve problems. All of a sudden, it's going to become the Wild West. What? So a police officer gives you a ticket, you're going to take him out? Like, oh, I got a ticket. I'm going to start taking. And it's just like the whole world can become a very scary place once you think murder solves problems. It doesn't. Definitely
But
not.
and he's not
No.
the only one, because now the other big thing that's all over the news this year are these Menendez people.
Yes.
And now everyone's
Yes.
like, well, they murdered their parents, let them out. I understand the parents were not great.
Yeah.
But we don't just let murder. What are we doing? I
Hmm.
don't know. I look,
It's
who
funny
am I
because
to judge anybody else?
right, but
But
here's
I just feel like if you murdered somebody or multiple
yep,
somebodies, you know
right,
what? Stay in jail.
right,
I don't have it in
right,
me. Should we let them out? Should we parole this guy? What were they in here for? Oh, murder? Yeah, you know what? We're not gonna let that one out. We're gonna let you stay
yep,
in that cell for a bit.
mhm, right. And the same folks who say like, "Oh, he did the right thing," blah blah blah. I always go
No.
back to the term
Mm,
NIMBY, not in my backyard. I'm like, "Oh,
yeah,
you want him to be your next door neighbor?" They would say no. Or that guy,
of
imagine,
course.
Luigi. I'm like, "You want him to babysit your kid?" I don't think so.
Yeah,
Right?
right,
You're happy that he does the dirty work for you, but you wouldn't
right.
want him babysitting. All of a sudden, they're gonna throw in this guy roses and everything. I mean, incredible.
I relate everything back to comic books, right? Because that's just how I'm wired,
Yeah.
and it's very Punisher-esque.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, where this guy is going out on a one-man mission to kill the people who he thinks wronged him and he thinks they're bad guys. But when you read comic books, like, you could like the Punisher,
Right.
but
Mhm.
in my opinion, I've never read a Punisher comic book and be like, he's the best superhero of all time,
Right.
because he's
Mhm.
not. Because he's not. He's just like,
Mhm.
you know, I think, like, you don't want the Punisher to be real. You might want
Right.
Superman to be real. You might want Captain America to be real. I don't
Yeah.
think you want the Punisher as the guy who's real.
Yeah. Yeah. Or even, which is a good segue, because you're think about Joker. And we'll talk about Joker too, but we'll just take the first one, which came out a few years ago. But even that character, and yes, you could say you felt sorry for him, right? He was abused as character, but we don't like him murdering people. Like, you really want Jokers running around? You want Arthur
Right.
Flex running around here? Like,
And actually, so this brings us right to Joker 2, which came out this year, which was maybe the biggest
yes,
flop of the year, because I
yes,
think that
no
movie was
question.
anticipated to be one of the biggest hits of the year.
Yeah.
Because the
Hmm.
first one had what, like a $3 budget and made $1 billion.
Yeah.
And so this one, everyone was expecting to have another $1 billion
Yeah.
box office, and it made nothing. And it's because, from what I understand, they changed the writing on this. What's his face? Todd Phillips.
Yep.
Because so many people made the Joker into a hero and a person they were worshiping after the first movie. He was like, I can't continue to do that in the second movie. I have to make it so that this guy is not a martyr anymore. and it ruined the whole movie.
I, it's that's one of those like like that what's that movie, Justice League,
Yeah,
which Zack the
yeah,
whole behind the scenes thing with they got think of the guy who did the Avengers, him to do like him to take over
yeah.
finish that
Joss
film.
Whedon. Yeah,
Yes, thank you. The point I'm making is like the behind the scenes stuff is more fascinating than the movie itself. Like
yep.
I would love to like ask Joaquin Phoenix like dude, what made you think like like doing a sequel was like you already won your Oscar. Wouldn't you like for me,
Yeah,
let's say I won an Oscar. I wouldn't want to do a sequel. Like, no way. I
yeah.
would just like for me, I'd be like, look, this isn't The Godfather. This is a movie based off a comic book character that's quasi related to that universe. Like it's a one and doneer,
Yep.
and I don't care how much like and he seems like a guy who's just seems like a lot of values and like takes his art very seriously. Like this guy starved himself practically to death to do this role.
Yeah.
And I just can't believe like dude, you don't need the money, man. Just merchandise. Just sell your every toy they put out. I mean, like get $1 for each one, get a nickel. You'll be a millionaire. You'll be set for life, you know?
It made no sense that they made this movie. It was, like I said, I think it was the biggest movie flop of the year because
Oh
there have
yeah.
been some bad movies, like Craven's getting trashed, right? Everyone's
Yes.
saying how bad it is. No one
Right.
really expected it to be good. I didn't see it yet, but no one expects that movie to be good.
Yep.
But the Joker, everyone expected to be good, and
Yeah.
what a letdown! And it's oh my god. If we want to talk about other things that happened in movies in 2024,
Yeah.
maybe the problem is that Joker 2 was a sequel, but then how many other sequels did we have to sit through this year? Not an 2024 has showed us there's not an original thought left in Hollywood. We had Joker 2, but we also had Inside Out 2, another Beverly Hills Cop,
Right.
Mufasa, another Crow, another Venom, another Beetlejuice. I think there were a few more.
Yeah, I forgot to put it on there. Deadpool.
Deadpool,
Deadpool. I mean, that's unbelievable.
that's
Oh, Gladiator. Gladiator.
Gladiator.
I mean, unbelievable.
So many sequels, not an original thought left. Everything that happened in 2024 on the
Right,
big screen was essentially a
right,
rehash of something you've already
right.
seen.
You're right, and it's interesting because I'm sure some folks, oh guys, there's other independent films. I'm sure, and look, I haven't gotten to those, but it's funny because one of the late releases got released on Christmas Day was Nosferatu, but
Yeah,
essentially is a remake.
it's
Isn't
a
that
remake
crazy?
again.
It's a
Yeah,
remake of a silent film, so it's
yeah.
and I heard it's like, excellent. I'm not saying that I'm not trying to put it down or anything, but it's just crazy how wow, like
Yeah.
just the amount of remakes and
And even the
redos.
biggest film of the year, I mean, undoubtedly at this point, the biggest film of the year has been Wicked.
Oh
Is
yeah,
also not an original movie. It was based on a book and it was based on a play. So even
right,
that, while it's not necessarily a sequel, it's still showing there's not an original thought left.
right.
The songs in that are the same that you've already heard from the show. The story is the same. I haven't seen it. I really have very
Hmm.
little interest in seeing it,
Yeah, I'm
but
not a
there is
fan
no
of
denying how
musicals really.
huge that movie has become. And it's
And no,
not an original thought. Hollywood has
right,
no original
and,
thoughts left.
and PJ, no, I didn't know about that film. I did not know this. That it's actually just a part one.
Yeah, there's
There's a
another one
sequel
coming
to it.
out.
That's incredible. I was when I found that
Yeah,
out, I couldn't believe it because someone says, "Oh yeah, this is only part one." I was like, I did,
yeah.
I didn't. I was like, "Oh wow."
Think they're doing that thing where they film the two parts back to back. I think that's
Yes.
what they're doing.
Yeah.
Because I think
So.
next year on Thanksgiving again, I believe,
Yep.
is when the next one will drop, and I'll have no interest in watching that one either. I hate the Wizard of Oz, and I hate everything connected to the Wizard of Oz, so I have very little interest in this movie. But I mean, it's
Mhm.
a phenomenon right now, a wicked
Yes.
fever all over
Hmm.
the world, not just America, all over the world. Some other Hollywood stuff that I found interesting this year is it looks like Marvel is on its way out when it comes to stuff. Within the next couple of months, we have the Captain America movie, but everyone has been shitting on the trailers for that. No one seems
Yeah.
very interested in it. The TV shows that they've been dropping on Disney Plus, no one really talks about or cares about.
Hmm.
Deadpool, look, Deadpool was huge. We have our feelings on it. Go back and listen to our
Yeah.
episode, and you can hate us like everybody else hates us. We have
Hmm.
our feelings about that movie.
Yeah.
Um, but Marvel is really starting to fall, I think.
Mhm.
Which, and interestingly enough, DC seems to be picking things up. People love that Penguin TV show.
Oh yeah.
That
I
show is,
just
yeah,
I just finished it last night, and I wanted to do a future episode of
yeah.
where we
We'll
can
do a whole
review it.
episode on that for sure.
But I could just to give a snippet. You know, it's almost and PJ's gonna. I know PJ gets very mad at me. I was not a fan of the Batman film with
Yeah, I know
Robert
you didn't
Pattinson.
like that.
Right. However, it's amazing how, for me, like this show, I wish that movie was this kind of move, like this kind of TV show. Just the
Right.
tone and the pacing of it. It was really spectacular. Um, but yeah, no, definitely a standout show, and it's
Yeah,
and
and I don't
the
know if you started watching Creature Commandos yet on HBO Max.
no, 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 no,
Um,
no.
that is one of the best written series, whether you want a live action, animated, whatever. One of the best series I've ever seen,
Mhm.
and that's getting rave reviews, and that's right off the heels of Beetlejuice, and then right on the heels of that show was the Superman trailer, which has been the most watched trailer I think of any Warner Brothers movie of all time, or some shit
Oh
like
wow.
that. They said that's getting very positive reviews. People seem
Mhm.
to really like that. There was a Christopher Reeve documentary. I don't know if you
That
saw it.
no, I know. I wanted to check that one out.
It's
Mhm.
called Super Slash Man. If you
Yes.
get a chance to watch it, that was one of the best documentaries I saw all year. And so it looks like James Gunn being put in charge of DC in 2024 is turning the tides a little bit. And
Mhm.
I don't think anyone saw that happening uh, because a big thing that happened in 2024 was announcing Robert Downey Jr. coming back to the Marvel Universe as
Yes.
Doctor, and that was not met with the overwhelming positive response that Marvel was anticipating. But that was a huge story this year as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just interesting to see how
Y-
the comic book movie industry is changing.
Yeah. Well, I think I know I always talk about this. I feel like after Avengers Endgame, they should have really ended it
Ended
and
it.
like and do a what I call like what I think Warner Brothers does really well with the Harry Potter movies. They celebrate them.
Hmm.
You celebrate them. You really make it a bit. Oh, that, and I can understand some of the TV shows, but you don't make them like these. You should just make them short, simple, not even almost someone not even connected. I really feel like that movie that movie, what's that show? She-Hulk. That could have been a great show if it just really just focused on comedy and it's just absurdity, but they obviously we know what happened. Became very, we'll use the word woke and all these other
Yeah.
things. It's a real shame because that show really had the potential to be like an odd, off the wall comedy silliness, which would have been perfect. It would have fit the tone perfectly.
Yeah.
It's a shame because that would have been a real way to kind of continue it. And what you're saying, PJ, just goes back to like, quality over quantity. It seems like just Disney and, obviously they're in charge of Marvel and that component, just like just putting shit out. It's like, you could see someone like James Gunn or even John Favreau when you let these guys take their time, they can make a good product, and then they just know when to stop. Because look, granted, I've never seen every episode of The Mandalorian, but that first season is
It's
too bad that
great.
could have been. I always say this, like too bad
Yeah.
that wasn't the Star Wars sequels. That would have been a huge. I mean, that
Yeah.
would have been huge. Absolutely. I mean, it was the Mandalorian was huge, but it would have been. I mean, wow. If they made it into now they make it into a movie, but it's almost
Too
lost.
late.
It's
It's
bingo.
too late.
Perfect.
It's too
Perfect.
late.
Exactly.
I mean, I'm gonna watch it, and the world will
Oh, yeah.
watch it, but it's too late. Like that would have been that should have been how we bridged the gap into whatever the new Star Wars movies were going
Yeah.
to be. It should have been,
Right.
4, 5, and 6. We know how Return of the Jedi ends.
Right.
Make a movie or two about how the galaxy had to
Yeah.
change after the Empire,
Yeah.
how it became more of a Wild West because there was no
Exactly.
Empire, and you have this guy who's basically a cowboy in the Wild West.
Yeah.
And then finish that story, and then set up your new movie universe and whoever your new Jedi is going to be. Should have, and
Exactly.
I agree, it should have been the
It's
Mandalorian as the
yep.
next trilogy.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Star
It's
Wars had a rough year. The
oh yeah.
Acolyte. I don't know if you watched it.
No, I did not watch it. Had no interest in it. It just like it goes back to one of these things. It's just like I saw just a thing the other day. I seen Rick Beato, the music guy. I've seen other people say this. Other like my favorite film critics, they all say the same thing. Back in the day, and this, I'm like maybe they'll say 25 years ago, early 2000s, where like a lot of the big studio heads, they actually cared about movies.
Yeah,
Like, of course, they always want to make money. I get all that, but they always said like, well, if we make a good film or we put out good music,
it'll
good
make
product.
it'll make the
eh,
money.
Now it just seems like we gotta do everything. Just seems like a stat report.
Yeah,
Put it out as fast as you can. You know, like I always say this, like still cannot believe when they bought Star Wars. I mean, they didn't like we. I forgot what your line was, but you're like they bought it on a Tuesday, they put out the movie on Wednesday. Like you should be spending countless hours perfecting that. Like they didn't even learn from George Lucas. We always say
Yeah,
that the prequels, the only redeeming factors, they try to do their own thing. The problem was
right.
George didn't sit with someone and really work on it. Everything seemed like a first, second draft. He really should have
Yeah, but
sat down with
history is looking back at those prequels fondly. They look way better. History is being kind to the prequels because we got stuck with the sequels, and
Yes.
now all of a sudden you're like, Revenge of the Sith, not that bad.
Yep.
That battle with Obi-Wan and Anakin at the end on Mustafar. You know what? Look, people can hate those prequels. That scene, I have the high ground. That
Yeah.
whole thing is
It's
part of pop
memorable.
culture.
It's memorable. It's
It's
memorable.
memorable, and it's memorable in a
Yep.
good way. That scene is great. Anakin killing the kids. You remember it? It's great. There is something to pull out. I mean,
Order
I was
66. Yeah,
the only
yeah.
person in the theater cheering, but that was. But there's something in each one of those prequels, whether you love them or hate them, that you remember. Um, so I don't know. George
Mhm.
was on to something.
Yeah. So PJ, I'm gonna ask you another question, PJ.
Okay.
So last year, Oppenheimer won for Best Picture.
Yes.
Right off the bat, who would you even nominate for Best Picture? Truly, this like
This year.
right. That's the thing. I didn't
Oh
get.
man,
Who would you pick? That's
it's gonna be Wicked, is what it's gonna be. We know that.
oh, you know what?
That's what
That's a
it's gonna be.
right. Okay. Wow. Good
I'm trying to think.
choice.
I
I
saw good
completely
movies this year, but I don't know. I don't. Let's see. Let me just see what came
because they
out.
because now they picked 10 movies, but what are they gonna pick? Deadpool? Like I really can't picture. I know they did Black Panther a few years ago and some other films,
Uh,
but like I just feel like what are some Oscar? I know that movie, The Substance, with what's her name, Demi Moore,
yeah.
and one with excuse me, Nicole Kidman just came out, Baby Girl. I have not seen those. I mean, those seem more. I'll say more substance. I'm not trivializing comic book
Here
movies,
are
but
some
what
of
the
the
hell would be
best
it?
picture comment. Let's see. This is some of the best picture options that they're saying. These not necessarily going to be nominated, but just what people are saying. Wicked. I
Right?
think that one makes sense.
Yep.
Um, Studio for that was Universal Pictures. Amelia Perez, which was a Netflix produced movie. I never watched
I
it.
never even
Never even
heard of
heard
it.
of it.
Yeah.
Conclave, which was done by Focus Features, which I
Oh yeah,
haven't
yeah,
seen, but
yeah.
I wanted to.
Oh yeah, that's with
Yeah,
Ray Fiennes. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Honora, which is a movie I know about. I have no interest in watching though. The Brutalist, an A24 movie.
Okay.
They usually make some pretty good stuff. They have Dune 2 as
Oh
from
yeah, I
Warner
always
Brothers
want.
as
I
part.
love that director. I haven't even seen the first. I gotta see them. I don't
I do not
highly.
like it. I think it's slow and boring.
I can
A
sense that.
Complete Unknown. I don't know what that is.
Well, that's Bob Dylan movie.
Oh, is that
Hmm.
the Bob Dylan one?
Yeah.
Okay,
My brother saw it.
okay.
He
I
said it
didn't
was
realize
good.
that's what it was called.
Hmm.
Sing Sing. No. A Real Pain.
This list is a real thing.
Yeah. The Substance.
Yeah. Yep. Hmm.
Gladiator 2. These are just some of the biggest
Oh,
movies that people are saying could be
right.
nominated.
Right. Yeah.
Um, September 5th. I
Yeah.
don't know what any of these movies are.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's a very interesting year
Yeah.
for the Oscars. Hmm.
I don't see a Oh, you know what? In all honesty, the one that probably should win or should be nominated is The Wild Robot.
Oh
But
yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel like that's going to get stuck in best
Yeah. Best
animated, whatever.
animated.
When
Yeah.
it could
Mhm.
very, very well be the best picture of the year.
Sure. Hmm.
Um, but yeah, there's really not much else. Like as I'm scrolling through this list, that I'm like, that Saturday Night Live movie, I didn't get to see
Hmm.
it yet. I think it looks good from what I've seen. I haven't watched
Right.
the full movie. I don't think that has the. I don't think that's going to be the movie that wins, though.
Yes. Hmm.
You're not going to see Alien Romulus win.
No
Sorry,
way.
sorry to all you Alien fans out there. It's not going to win.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, wasn't a lot of great stuff. I mean, there are movies I liked. Inside Out 2's not winning. It's
Yes.
just not.
Mhm.
Joker's not winning.
No way.
So Mufasa not winning. So I don't know. I don't really know what's getting nominated this year, but rest assured, whoever wins will be Wicked.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's what's gonna
Yes.
happen.
Yeah, my
Yeah.
last things with Wicked, and just things are just really just know what's been really amazing is social media. And one of the things I love about social media is the human beings and the amount of memes, but the whole thing with the interviews with Ariana Grande and Cynthia Areno, just with those wicked interviews,
Oh my God,
and
so
then
weird.
even the stuff with Drew Barrymore and her
Yeah.
show. I mean, some of this is like I can't. I'm like sometimes I really feel like I guess it goes back to AI thing. I'm like, am I living like in a simulation? Like this stuff seems just so like
It can't be real.
exactly, exactly. I'm like, am I, I feel like I'm a very anxious person. I'm like, man, if they're coming off a little odd, I must be super odd. Why they make me look normal? I'm just like what is going on
All
here,
of those
man?
interviews, I don't know what they were. I don't know. I can't explain it. Um, they were awkward,
Right,
uncomfortable,
right,
weird,
right, right,
not about the movies. They did a
right.
weird thing where there were lie detector tests involved.
Like,
It was so strange.
don't they have like a PR team? Yeah, promote the movie. Oh, it's a great thing. We're singing and dancing. Like, I don't
Well,
know
you know
what's
what?
going on.
The PR team, here's the thing, as weird as it is, we're talking about it. So the PR team
Yeah, they did a great
achieved
job.
what they were trying to do, which is get people talking about that movie.
Yep.
So it worked. It worked. It was weird, but it worked. My favorite story of 2024. This is my
Right.
favorite. Hawk coin.
Gotta give him that hawk.
Oh,
Spit all that
yes.
The
money.
Hawk to a girl dropping some sort of digital
Yes.
Bitcoin sort of meme
Yes.
coin,
Yes.
getting all those people that follow her to buy it, and then they
Yeah.
pull the rug out and
Yeah.
sell it all, and everyone loses their money. And that's my favorite news story of the year because could you imagine taking your money and saying, I need to invest hundreds of $1,000s into Hawkcoin
Yeah.
and
It's
then
the girl like,
into
who came
Hawk2?
who went viral for going like
Yeah.
I mean you
Even
can't make this up.
people are saying how their kids can't go to college anymore. They've lost their kids' college funds. They've lost their retirement funds, all because they invested in Hawk2 coin.
Hawk to it.
I say they got what they deserved. Sorry.
Yeah.
You invested
I,
your
like
hard-earned money in Haktua, and I'm supposed to feel bad for you that you lost all your money?
yeah.
Stop. You deserve it. You get what you get. You get what you deserve.
You
Don't
get what you
invest
get,
the
you don't
money
get
in Hawk.
upset. Yep.
Yeah. You did this to
Unbelievable.
yourself.
hmm
Don't blame Haktua.
Yeah. Which is amazing too. That whole scenario too of
Oh,
doing
that whole
20,
thing.
20 it's amazing how like that girl was basically interviewed by I think essentially podcasters and
Yeah.
obviously she became the breakout star. I mean, unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
hmm Speaking of unbelievable, PJ, I know you're like one of her biggest fans. Is Taylor Swift, and the reason why we
Yes.
pick her up, we're not trying to. She doesn't need enough any more promotion, but she made over $1 billion in this tour, this
That's
Eras
the
tour. I
I
mean,
believe this is the
that's
biggest tour of all time, wasn't it?
yes,
Like for any
yes,
musical act? Okay.
yep. And I put on here too because the Rolling Stones. Now, obviously, people, all our fans who do listen, know I'm a huge fan. But the thing that I just found amazing is like I mean, the Stones made like I have a book that has all stats about the Stones, like trivia, and I forgot they make like almost like 25 million a show just between like
Yeah.
I can't imagine like I mean she can retire and she is set for like lifetimes. You know what I mean? I mean she's not going to
Crazy.
stop, but I mean just the amount of money
I
she
hope she doesn't
generated,
stop.
right? Yeah, but it's just remarkable, PJ, where like the amount of like she really has it down to a science between the music. I mean, I know she doesn't. I think she's I don't know if the right one, re-recording her previous albums
Hmm.
because they were like on a different label or something like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, like she's really the woman's printing money. It's
She really
really
is.
it's
She
incredible.
deserves it all. She deserves it all. She's
hmm
one of the good ones. Here's the thing with her. She's perfect, first of all. But here's the thing: where does she go from here? Because this Eras tour
Yeah,
was so fucking big, so
yeah,
huge. Her next tour can't be this big. It just can't be. This
yeah.
was her going on tour and playing like every
This
song,
might be
every
her.
album.
It might be like her peak. Or maybe another couple of
Yeah.
years from now she does another. But yeah,
Unless, yeah, unless she releases like another 10 albums and then goes on tour again and does this like Eras
Eris
part two.
part two. Yeah,
There's no way you could have one album go on tour and have it be this big. You just can't do it
no
anymore.
way.
So I almost wonder if, in a way, not that she needs the money, so maybe that's why she did it, so she doesn't have to go on tour anymore. But like in a way, did she like cut off her success now?
That's a great point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like because
Mhm.
you can't get bigger than this.
No
That's
way.
like, what are you gonna
Yeah.
play on the moon next? Like, what are you gonna do? So I almost wonder if she if in a way she cut off future success by this being so huge. But
Yeah.
if anyone out there can top
Yes.
this, it's her. So
Yes.
we will
No,
see.
I agree.
Tay Tay, I'm pulling for you.
And there's
Pull for
other
Tay Tay.
just other music things that happened this past year. I just worth mentioning is I guess you could say the return of Eminem. Um,
Hmm.
he had that basically hit song Houdini. I think he had another song Save Me with somebody. I forgot who
Yeah,
he does with somebody else, but I just I think folks I'll admit I'm not fully competent with today's current hip hop scene. But he's really kind of the last of the Mohicans because, like, I don't know if even like guys like Snoop Dogg. I mean, he's obviously still
he's on The
relevant,
Voice.
right?
Snoop
But
Dogg has become America's grandpa at this point.
yeah,
He
yeah,
is so wholesome. It's really such a turn from where the Snoop that we knew.
yeah, yeah,
Growing
yeah.
up, like when we would listen to a Snoop song or see what he was doing to what he does now, where he is on The Voice every week crying, like real. He's either a great actor or a very genuine person.
Yeah.
Where he was crying when these people tell him their stories and they perform for. He was at the Olympics, and I mean, really, Snoop on a stoop during Christmas. Like this guy has turned into a family friendly character when he used
Amazing.
to be like fuck the
Yeah.
police. So I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah. I remember remember that song he had, "Murder Was the Case That They Gave Me."
Yeah,
That was huge. He used to get. I remember like he came out at an award show one time at the Grammys, and like they wheeled him out in a wheelchair, and then he starts, which was funny. But anyway, like he was like enemy number one. Like how dare he? Like you said, f the police and all. And
yeah,
now he's like literally hanging out with Martha Stewart, flipping
yeah.
pancakes. I mean, like incredible. My
I think
last,
it's a case also of just don't judge a book by its cover because I don't believe for a second that all of a sudden he's turning on this charm and he's the nicest guy in the world.
yeah,
I'm betting he was always this
correct.
person and the
Yeah.
rest was the act.
Yes,
My guess.
correct. Yeah,
My
yeah, yeah.
guess.
The persona. Yep,
Yeah.
agreed. And then one of the other interesting, I know we talked about this in our music episode, is like the return of Linkin Park, which is the best-selling band of the new millennium.
Yeah.
And look, I know a lot of people have mixed feelings about them having a female singer. I genuinely enjoy some of the new singles, not all of them. I think they're fine.
Mhm.
I don't think they're. I think they're. I'm hoping maybe I'm always more into heavier stuff. So I think I've seen videos of them playing live. They sound very good, and
I think they went about it the wrong way introducing her as the new singer. I think we have a new singer. This is who she is. We're going to put out music with her. Then you can
yeah,
hear it when it's all
yeah,
done, and people might have accepted it. I think them saying, "Here's our new singer, and here's her singing all of our old hits, and she can't do it as well. Deal with it." Like that's kind of
correct.
how it felt. I think they did themselves, and they did their. I don't know this person's name. I don't know her name,
I think
but
Emily something. I can't remember her
I think
last
they
name.
did her a disservice as the way they announced her and presented her originally.
I think one of the things I'm frustrated too is I feel like it's happening more than ever. This didn't happen in 2024. It started before this, but like teaser trailers for other teaser trailers.
Oh my god,
Like they do like a 15-second spot, and then they show another teaser
like
trailer.
they
But
did for
anyway,
Superman.
yeah, yeah, and they did the same thing with Linkin Park, where like on
Yeah,
their YouTube channel, also they had a timer,
yeah,
and then everyone was waiting, and then it was another timer for like a week later. I mean,
yeah.
that's I don't know if that was like a troll, like some kind of like Rick rolled kind of
It's a new thing.
I
They
would
do it with the
appreciate it
movies
did a Rick
too. Yeah,
roll. It's just
they hyped up the
amazing.
Superman trailer. They did the same thing. It's coming out. It's coming out. It's coming out. And then all of a sudden, the trailer is like 13 seconds for the trailer tomorrow. Like, what are we doing? Um, that's a new thing to just build interest. I don't like it. Just give me the
Yeah.
content that I'm supposed to get.
Mhm.
I
And I
don't
know
need you to build up more anticipation for something I'm already
yes.
anticipating.
And one of the things I really am excited for 2025 is the 28 years later, the sequel to 28 Days Later.
Oh yeah, yeah,
But the trailer is probably one of the best trailers in years where they didn't do it. They don't. I mean, no, obviously the movie deals with zombies and blah blah blah.
yeah,
But it felt nice just to see a trailer where they don't give everything away.
yeah.
Like they've gotten so bad with that, and it's really awesome. So even if you're
The
not a fan
problem
of
is, however, it is yet another sequel.
Correct Amundo. Mm-hmm.
Still can't get an original thought.
Mm-hmm.
Were there any other big 2024 stories that we haven't hit?
Well, well, Pete,
Drones.
right? Drones, those are becoming going back to AI, man. We've seen those Terminator memes when it takes place in the future and they're flying over.
Did you
Crazy.
see that ABC had to send out a statement that we are using drones for the Dick Clark, Ryan Seacrest, whatever.
Yeah.
So if you
hmm
see drones, don't shoot them down. It's us because of all the shit that's going on. And there's so many rumors. It's like, oh, the drones are looking for nuclear weapons. They're looking for radioactive material. They're looking for this. I'm like, or it's some kid with a drone. I don't know. Some people say these things are as big as cars. I saw
I
some drones flying above my house. They didn't look as big as cars.
yeah, I think they're pretty big, cause you know what they are. I'm sure a lot of this stuff is just really for more like Google. I wouldn't be surprised too, PJ. You're seeing I want to say the end of like police like surveillance, like them driving on the highways. You're gonna have
Yeah,
fucking drones where like
yeah,
instead of having those speed cameras, you're gonna have those things buzzing around.
yep.
They see you
I think
weaving
so
in,
too.
and they see you weaving in and out. That
Yep.
thing's gonna fly or zero. Like it doesn't even have to fly down. Like it just, cameras today are crazy. Even on your cell phone, you can zoom
Yeah.
into the moon.
Yeah, I
They'll
agree. I
just
think you're
zoom
gonna
in,
start seeing
bam.
that.
Here's
I
your,
think too many police are getting killed on these routine stops that they're looking for better ways to do it.
yeah, or like a motorcycle that speeds. You
Yeah.
get one of those drones, follow it,
Yeah.
and then they take your license plate and you get a bill in the
Yeah.
mail. I mean, that's where it's coming, folks. It has nothing to do with them spying. They find another way to find another way to send you a bill in the mail. You know,
Absolutely.
um, one of the things, PJ, though, I have to talk about, and it breaks my heart. I'm sure you're gonna revel in it. Is we don't really get to talk too much sports on this show, but we
Yeah.
got to talk about the World Series real quick with Yankees and Dodgers. Everyone was excited. It's a classic battle between obviously a former New York team, the Dodgers, going against
Yeah.
the New York Yankees. And all
East
I can
versus
say,
West.
exactly, and all I can say, folks, is as a Yankee fan, I'm not surprised they lost. I'm not trying to be like, oh, I predict the future. I didn't. All I knew is I don't know how they lost. I mean, they won against the Indians in the champions because I'm like, anyway, I didn't have a good feeling about them winning the world. I didn't think they were going to win,
Well,
but
let me
the
tell you this.
way that they
As a Mets
lost,
fan, I wasn't sure you guys were winning either.
it was a.
Those
But folks,
bastards are
but
good.
folks, but folks, see, I'm not trying to bury my own team or the other listeners who are happy about it, our Dodger fans, whoever. I think the part that's amazing though is unfortunately for us as a Yankee fan, even though we have so many championships, blah, 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 we're gonna go down as one of the worst innings in a World Series ever. A worst inning. That inning, I think
Yeah.
it was like the fifth, sixth, somewhere around there. I can't exactly, but that inning was complete is a complete example of how they played all year. Poor defense, just lack of baseball IQ, which I think is lacking in most sports nowadays, where people don't have sports IQ. They're not aware of situational
Yeah.
hitting, basketball, baseball, football. It just seems it goes back to that thing. It's just they just tell them what to do, and that's it. They have no real parameters of game.
I'm going to
You
tell
know.
you why that is, in my
hmm
opinion.
Sure, of
These,
course.
what we're talking about are team sports:
Yeah.
hockey, football,
Yep.
basketball, baseball,
hmm
team sports. However, it's no longer about the team. We don't, they are now individual contributors. I
hmm
call them because they become too much a celebrity in their own right, these
Yeah.
people. You know, Aaron Judge, too
Yep.
busy selling t-shirts, probably too busy
Yeah.
making appearances on
hmm
podcasts, too busy making all this money for his
Yeah.
sponsors, everything
Yeah.
else.
Even though a
And
whole
so you
Juan
can't get a
Soto
hit
thing. Yeah.
in the playoffs. You can't hit the ball because you haven't gone to practice and I don't know. So you're not, look, you could be the best, but if you're only the best because you're in practice, you're practicing, you're playing, you're contributing, you're learning how your other teammates, like, maybe I don't need a home run here. I just need to get a base hit because this guy's going to steal whatever. There's all these different things you have to do to be successful as a team. But the only thing that's going to get, Judge more money is hitting another 75 home runs.
Yeah.
So how do we do that? Just swing for the fences and don't actually play the game the way it's meant to be played
Yeah.
because it's all about him. And it's not just him. I don't want to single just him out, but look at
Yeah.
like in football, someone like a Travis Kelsey, who was probably considered one of, if not the best tight ends of all time, has had not a great season this year or last year. Why? Because now he's a celebrity on TV every week with
Yeah.
Taylor Swift, right?
hmm
And they can do whatever they want in their own personal lives. It's fine. But if you're a Chiefs fan, you're happy that your team is successful. But there's no way you watch those games and you're happy with the performance that Kelsey's putting out on the field.
Hmm.
They're not. These people have become celebrities and not just teammates on a. It's not
I
about the
agree.
team anymore.
That's a great point.
Back
Hmm.
in the day, you were you were a Yankee fan, you were a Jets fan, you could be a Chiefs fan, whoever. Now people are like, I'm a real fan of this player, and I
Yes.
just follow this player where they go, and that is not the point. That's why these teams don't have the success,
Yeah.
and that's why I'm not a huge baseball guy, but I can't name really a big time Dodger.
Yeah. No, yeah, absolutely. I think I saw a clip the other day with Kobe Bryant. Obviously, he passed away, but it's amazing how like he's a very bright man. He was a very bright man. But he says he says when he retired, he says I don't really like basketball anymore because like he calls it accidental playing, meaning
Hmm.
because they're not even setting up plays. Like okay, I'm gonna do a
Yeah,
pick and roll.
it's true.
And basketball now. I've been saying this for years, but especially now, it's really picked up steam of how unwatchable it is. People said baseball is unwatchable. I think basketball has now
Yeah,
taking the crown because they shoot nothing but excuse me, three pointers. And maybe like a month ago, maybe a month and a half ago, the Knicks, they beat a team by 145 to like 120. That's in a regular season game. That's a score
yeah,
you get in an
yeah,
All-Star game where no one's playing any defense. So that is astounding, and it makes for boring
yeah,
play.
yeah,
And I don't know what's good. Sports in general, I feel like since the pandemic has gone down in
yeah. I
quality,
agree.
But speaking of sports, PJ, just to kind of as we're doing somewhat of a lightning round, I think we talked about this too about like the Olympics. Man,
Oh my
who
God,
gives?
who gives a shit?
I mean, remember that, folks? Remember the Olympics this year was held at Paris,
The
Paris,
only
France. I
memorable,
mean,
there were two
I
memorable
don't.
things about the
Oh, I know
Olympics.
what you're gonna bring up. Do it, do it, do it.
There was the Australian dancer. I can't think of her name
Yes,
right now.
yes, exactly. Yeah, yeah, the break
B Hop or
dancer.
whatever her name was,
Yep.
some weird name like that. And the Steve the Gun guy.
Yes, and those and both of them. That guy won silver medal. He's not even a gold medalist. I'm not taking away his talent. And then you have the woman. She didn't even. They canceled the whole breakdancing now
Because
because
of
of how.
her.
Yeah, so it's amazing how the two things that are most well known from that event, where we're celebrating, athleticism and country, that the two things we walk
Or
away are
jokes.
are, are
Fucking
memes.
jokes.
I mean, it's unbelievable,
I don't know if you
unbelievable.
watched any of the Olympics at all. I tried and I'm like, I don't give a fuck about any of this. The only thing I was really able to sit through was I watched the skateboarding stuff, which
Oh, I
at
didn't even
that
know
point
they had
I
that.
might as well just put on the X Games. Like it's
Right?
better there than it is on the Olymp. It's unwatchable. Unwatchable.
It's
The
it's
Summer Olympics for me are always worse
yeah. I don't.
anyway,
You know.
but man,
Hmm.
tough to get through those Olympics. Just
Yep.
you know what? Just don't do them anymore.
Yeah.
Don't do
Hmm.
them anymore.
I think it's really difficult, like when you watch events that are like don't involve like it's probably not the best word, like competition, like or
Mm,
scoring, like oh they got an 8 out of 10 due to
yeah,
their like I like hockey really because there's real competition. It's head to
yeah,
head. I
yeah,
can't get into like someone does a high dive. It's obviously it's insane what they can do, but it for me it's not thrilling. You know what I mean?
yeah,
I like when there's like a head to head, like a hockey or even the vibe or even
yeah.
curling. I like
Curling, yeah.
I
I
like
love
that
me some
kind of.
curling
I think they
because
should. I
it's
mean,
an actual sport.
yes.
Not to say that these other things aren't sports, but you're not watching a competition. You're just watching a person do a thing, and it's like, oh, they jumped better than the other guy jumped. I don't
Yeah.
know. I find it boring.
Hmm. And I guess for folks at home, this past year we also had the signs of the end of times. We had hurricanes,
Yep,
we had Helene and Karina,
yep,
Helena, excuse me. Then we had the earthquake here in New York and New Jersey. Um, I was actually on a Zoom call when that happened. Um, and during this, and I think something else happened too, like the election, all that kind of stuff. And during this
yeah,
time, I guess to highlight our podcast was PJ made a meme for me about what was happening, and I'm like, was like about Ghostbusters and the end of the world. I'm like, PJ, you got to make that into me and put it on our our Instagram and all that. And anyway, folks, it went viral. It's our most viewed meme. I think it has like over 100,000.
yeah.
We gained a bunch of followers from it, but yeah, it was a Ghostbusters scene. But yeah, we had PJ. We had the end of times. We had hurricanes. We had earthquakes. We're forgetting something else.
Yeah, there was
Uh,
a lot.
no
There was
natural
a lot of
disaster.
things.
Oh, wildfires.
Yeah.
I mean, all that stuff. And I guess
Dogs and
another.
cats living together. Mass hysteria.
Yeah, yeah. And the other thing was we keep talking about AI and like technology and how we're like you said, PJ, we're getting a little bit too independent. Is PJ, remember when we had the blue screen of death from Windows? It was the
Yes.
faulty CrowdStrike
Yep.
software update that impacted um, airports and
Yeah.
other things alike. I think even like hospitals. I think
Yeah.
things
Everything.
like it was amazing. I mean, how it's crazy how a Windows update or lack of one
Yeah. Shut down the
derailed.
world. Crazy.
What?
Absolutely crazy.
What is going on here, PJ? Oh my heavens! But PJ, is there anything else before we talk about some of the upcoming things we have for 2025?
I'm just trying to think if there was anything else big, but I think that was
I
most of the big stuff.
yeah,
I mean, look, 2024. I feel like at the end of every year, right? Everyone is always like, "This was the craziest year ever. This was the craziest this."
yeah.
But I feel like, you know what? These years keep getting crazier every single year. I mean, look, there are other things that we could talk about that we probably. I mean, Diddy, the
Yes.
whole
Oh my
Diddy thing.
God.
I mean, that's a
Yes.
big one that happened, and we spoke about that in one of
Oh
our other
my.
episodes. But that was huge. I mean, I lost count of how many shootings there were this year. Those keep getting worse. We just keep killing people in schools and offices, and that seems to be okay. Doors are flying off of airplanes. That was this year also. Doors ripped right off an airplane that was in the air. I forget if it was a Boeing, whatever it was.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, there are astronauts stuck in space. They can't come home this year
Yes.
because the ship malfunctioned and they can't get another one up there. So there's just like what 5 or 6 motherfuckers living in space, like shitting in their spacesuits. Because what are you gonna do when you're in space? Like I don't know. This year had some crazy, crazy, crazy stuff happen, and I mean we covered a bunch of it. It's impossible to cover all of it, but
Hmm.
wild year, 2024,
Yeah.
wild, wild year.
Yeah, folks, that's 2024. I'm sure we missed some things. Let us know. But, folks, the things we have to look forward to, and we appreciate our listeners. And for 2025, we have more interviews lined up. Um, PJ and I, we're going to show with our other buddies. Um, we filmed a commercial that we entered for the Super Bowl for Doritos. We're going to unveil that. We're probably not going to win. We're definitely not going to win, but we're going to show you
I
guys
haven't
that.
heard back from them, so I'm guessing we
Yep.
didn't get selected.
Yep. So we'll have that to show you folks. We have, like I said, more interviews, more guests. We're gonna, we talked about making some more short films together. Later this month, we have the Golden Lunchbox Awards. This will be our second annual, which basically we give awards out to anything, pop culture, in our personal lives, whatever it is. Basically, all the positive things that we think deserve an award. And also, in that same show, we do the Brown Paper Bag Awards. Basically somewhat, I guess you could say, the Razzies of life.
Yes.
So,
Yep.
a lot to look forward to.
The new soon to be patented Cool Kids lunch table ranking system for when we do
Yes.
reviews. Um, that'll be unveiled. I guess we'll unveil that when we do our next actual review. But
Yep.
we'll have a new ranking system in place for all our movies, which I think people will find fun. That's
Yep.
coming up. What else do we have coming up? Anything big? New website's coming.
Yep. Yep. So,
New website will be happening.
like you said, folks, thanks again for listening and being with us for another year. PJ, it's always a pleasure doing this with you, getting our creative minds together.
Yes.
It's fantastic. We're very lucky to be able to do this and
We are
have a lot of
very
fun.
lucky to be able to do this, and
Yep.
I don't take it for granted. It is one of my favorite things that I get to do. I
Yep.
have a regular job. I run a comic book store, which is all very time-consuming stuff. This is always one of my highlights of the week when we record an episode.
For sure.
One of my favorite things that I get to do is have this podcast.
Thanks for listening. Happy New Year. And same time, same table.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Boys and girls, lunchtime is over. For more information, visit their website at coolkidslunchtable.podbean.com. Follow the boys on all social media platforms. Just search Cool Kids Lunch Table Podcast. Now get to class before you get detention.